G'day, ZiggyD here with another delve guide. I was supposed to be taking yesterday off to have a bit of a rest, but instead I spent all yesterday testing darkness farming, trying to figure out if there was any reliable way to get some of the more valuable fossils for crafting and trading. Well, in this video I'll share that data as well as some tips for farming fossils efficiently. What I actually ended up discovering during my testing was pretty surprising, that some of the more expensive fossils are actually quite easy to find. Sanctified fossils, for example, were trading at 13 Chaos on Delve SC at the time of recording, and I was able to farm roughly 6 per hour of delving, though I could probably do a lot more if I was target farming them specifically. So, let's get started. The basics first. Fossils are located primarily in the darkness, inside areas off of the crawler's path. The side areas are fairly easy to identify once you see where the crawler is going. If you have good flares and darkness resistance, then you can duck down these side areas while doing a delve, otherwise you can finish the delve and then run backwards along the string of lights the crawler has connected up. There are two types of side area. The regular side areas vary in length and typically have 1 to 3 loot spawns in them, which can be fossils, resonators, azurite, flares, dynamites, or chests of currency or loot. Fossils themselves are easy to see because they are bright yellow and glow in the dark. The second type of side area are the ones hidden behind breakable fractured walls. These you can blow up with the dynamite. These areas are pretty important because they typically have 1 to 3 spawns of loot inside of them, and are the only place I have found where certain more valuable fossils can spawn. Sanctified fossils, for example, I have only seen spawn behind fractured walls. A really important tip if farming side areas for fossils is your goal is that the longer the delve the better. But in addition to that, the more empty space on the map around that delve's path, the better. This is because each empty cell on the delve map, that is, a section that doesn't contain a delve beginning or end point, will have a fractured wall side area. Chris Wilson noted this point in a recent post, and in my testing it holds to be true. This means that if you are looking for more valuable fossils behind fractured walls, you want longer delves that go through empty areas of the map. Delves can be done in a variety of different biomes. I did my testing at around depth 90, and tested Fungal Caverns, Magma Fissure, Frozen Hollow, Sulphur Vents, Petrified Forest, and Abyssal Depths. It appears there are more biomes at lower levels, and some of the more rare fossils may only be available at those deeper depths. Biomes are important because the type of fossils you will find are dependent on which biome you explore. So from my testing, these right here are the distributions of fossils amongst the biomes at around depth 90. I can guarantee, and I recorded, that I found each of these fossils in these biomes. To be sure something weird wasn't going on, I also made sure that I found each of these fossils in these biomes multiple times. What is possible, however, is that there might be extra possible fossils that could be obtained. For example, maybe encrusted fossils could spawn in the Frozen Hollow as well, I just didn't find any during my testing. So if you guys find some fossils in a zone I haven't marked them for, then please feel free to share a screenshot showing the fossil spawn. Strangely, Abyssal Depths didn't seem to have many fossils at all, both in volume and in type. I also didn't find any of the rare fractured wall only fossils in Abyssal Depths either. It's possible that the Abyssal Depths hold some secrets I have yet to discover, perhaps at deeper levels of the mines. Note that I've marked several fossils as fractured only. I only ever found these fossils behind fractured walls. The other fossils can spawn behind fractured walls, but I only ever found the marked ones in the little side areas behind the fractured walls. Hopefully this chart should be super useful for you guys. For example, if you want to farm Sanctified and Jagged fossils to craft high-end physical gear, then you'll want to farm Petrified Forest delves. And if you want to exclusively target farm one of the fractured wall only fossils like Sanctified or Gilded, then you'll want to target long delves with plenty of empty space along the route to maximize the amount of fractured wall side areas you'll find. Okay, so for you guys who want to see this method that I've been using live in action and just to see how easy it can be with the proper setup, then I'll take you guys through the process right now. First thing you're going to want is some sulfite, of course. A very quick and easy way to get some sulfite right now. Still equip something like Brightbeak with Prismatic Eclipse, get Leap Slam with faster attacks, and go to the quarry. So I'll just show you. This is a very fast method for getting enough sulfite for delves around that, maybe like, well, anything up to probably 150 or something is probably going to be, this is probably going to be some of the quickest methods. You do get more sulfite at higher level maps, and chaining high level maps is going to be the best way by far long term, but in the meantime, for farming fossils at lower depths, this is very fast. And all you need to do is leap slam around the central square here, and the sulfite will always be visible on the minimap within sight of that central square. And you get about 30-ish on average. So for a pretty long delve at depth 90, that's about 100 sulfite. So it takes less than a minute to do that. And as you can see, there's 100 sulfite right there from 3. So pretty fast stuff. Once you've done that, you're going to want to make sure you have some flares and dynamite. For the longest delves, you might need something like 4 to 5 dynamite. Without needing to go back, that's convenient to have. Sometimes you'll find dynamite on the delve itself. And flares, I recommend about 8 to 10, but it kind of depends on how fast moving you are and how confident you are in the dark. The most important upgrades by far, though, are darkness resistance. You'll ideally want to be doing this at darkness resistance 75, which is the cap. So the higher your darkness resistance is, the deeper you can do this method. And a bit of flare radius is very handy as well, though with the flare buff, the flare radius is quite generous now. Ideally, what you're going to be looking for is very long delves with lots of open area around them. This is a perfect example. I got something like 5 side areas and made a lot of profit from this one delve here. Was insane. As you can see, all of this empty side area here all has that potential and very high likelihood of having fractured walls, depending on kind of exactly how the map grid is laid out. But that was a very solid delve right there. We're going to do this pair of delves over here. This one here looks okay. There's a couple empty areas around it. It's medium to long. And this one here is quite long. So maybe we can do both of those. Now, as I covered in my previous video of darkness farming, there's a couple ways you can do this. You can do this while you're running alongside the crawler, just dipping off into the side areas. You can come back after the crawler's reached the end. And in doing so, come back along the lit up path, or you can just dive into the darkness if your darkness resistance is high. And this is what you're looking for here. Side areas which look just like this. Now, there'll be several loot spawns in this, depending on how long it is. In this case, this is about a 2-length one, and there's a fractured wall at the end. There is, unfortunately, no fossil there. There's not always going to be fossil, but there's a bit of other loot, and there's 2 to 3 loot spawns in there, as I mentioned earlier. This is another side area here, and there's just 1 spawn in this one of Azurite this time around. We'll keep moving on. There'll be another... looks like we're going to turn first, but then there'll be a side area off to the left and maybe one up to the right, possibly. There'll be 1 spawn in here. It's just jewelry this time around. Up ahead, we've got another turn into the next zone. Next biome over here. These don't really count as side areas. Oh, this one has some. Sometimes there's like loot along the path. That's probably not really a side area so much as just some loot along the path. This, however, is a side area, so we can head on in here. There's some lost wealth. You'll find a fair bit of currency doing this. Often quite a few chaos on some of the longer delves. Ouch. And it can be very profitable. I ended up making a lot of currency testing this yesterday. Here's a wall here. I'm going to go ahead and blow this up. Nice change now, makes dynamite, only 1 dynamite for each wall. And then we've got a Sanctified Fossil, which at the time of making this video is 13 chaos large. Good, pretty good money. There's a Jagged Fossil, which is a physical one. It's also a very nice fossil. We're going to run off into this darkness here. We've got a dynamite cache. There'll be another loot spawn down this corner here. This might even be a triple length one, just a double length one. Just jewelry this time around. We'll head into the next one. And we should be back in the light just fine. Looks like this is going to be a side area here. If it starts to look very long and unusual, then it's like this. What it is, it's a crossroads area because the crawler was going to turn around. So in this case, it's not technically a side area. Sometimes you'll find some loot tucked away in there. But in this case, it's actually like a bit of just a kind of a freak of the map generation. In this case, though, this is possibly a side area, but no, that's more likely going to be a path down to another delve. So looks like this is the end of that delve since this one was a little bit shorter. So we can go ahead and complete this delve and we'll take the next one, which is a little bit longer and looks a little bit juicier than this one was even. Though first delve was decent even so far. Okay, so we're going to do this delve upwards here, which looks like it could be quite good. It's a little bit narrow for my liking. I like it to be a little bit wider in terms of the open space. This is probably going to be another path, although... yeah, sometimes the side areas will spawn like right next to the start point, but in that case, they're not usually having loot in them. It seems like anything really close to the start area won't have anything in it. So if you don't like that method where I was running off where the crawler's going, which can be a little stressful, especially if you don't have your dark resistance built up just yet, what you can actually do is just run the delve, you know, as quickly or as safely as you want, take it to the end, and I'll cut forwards to the end for you guys, and then we can run backwards instead. Okay, so you'll have to complete the encounter first, and then the string of lights will light up behind the crawler. Okay, so there we have it. Now the string of lights is lit up. The downside of this method, of course, is that it requires a bit of backtrapping and takes a bit longer, but with that high darkness resistance, it is actually quite easy to do this while you're following the crawler along rather than backtracking. But for you guys who want a bit of a safer method, then this is the approach, and this is probably the way that I'd want to be doing it in hardcore, just to be a bit extra safe. So there's probably a spawn somewhere in this room. Actually, I'm pretty surprised there's not. It looks like it might just be one right at the end then. This guy's lost wealth, so a bit of currency for us. Always good. It looks like the spawn was a little closer to the entrance, that's why. I was going to say, there should be 2 loot spawns in there. And this one, there'll be one at the end there. It's just a lost armaments. This one's a pretty long one as well. There'll be probably some loot in here. It's a dynamite cache. Let's go ahead and take these guys out. And this one has a wall at the end and it looks like a fossil as well. So we're going to go ahead and throw some dynamite in here. Nice dynamite change. Sweet. Got a resonator cache and bound fossil, which is the summoner one, which is not too bad. So we'll go ahead and take that. I'm going to need to kill these guys. And back out along the path. Backtracking some more. Looks like we'll have... This was a corner section like I was talking about before. So there's sometimes some loot tucked in the corners here. So we've got like a dynamite cache just here. So those can be worth checking. But it's never... there's never going to be like a fractured wall or anything there. There's some more lost wealth. Scouring orb. Can't complain. And looks like there's a longer side area here, which doesn't look like it's going to be a fractured wall. It is. There you go. Never mind. It is a fractured wall. And we got another fossil behind here. Something good. Sanctified. Very nice. Another 13C at the time of recording. I presume, though, that people realizing how easy it is to get these fossils are now going to probably have a bit of an impact on the economy. I apologize for you guys who already knew this and were profiting off it, but sharing the love with the rest of the community has eventually got to happen. It is my prerogative. So from that, we've got a couple of powerful resonators, we've got a bit of extra currency, a couple regular fossils, and 2 sanctified fossils. Very nice for just a couple minutes work. So there you guys have it. Fun side note, I made hundreds of chaos testing this theory. So as it turns out, science can be quite profitable. So hopefully this has been helpful for you guys. Let me know if you find anything cool I haven't recorded here, especially any red fossils that say subscribe on them, because I heard those do something cool when used. That's it for now. I'm ZiggyD, and thanks for watching.